Okay, I have the holes drilled through the top so that I can begin sawing. I've got my blade inserted through. I have a little board sitting here on the table that I use as a support. It's not the best, but it works. Just about to finish this up. Just thought I'd show you the last little cut here. Wouldn't exactly say that was easy. Again, my blade the teeth are just too coarse for this grain of wood. I need to get some finer teeth, and as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to get on eBay right now and order me some finer teeth, so the next one I saw out will be simpler, since I've got two of these to build. Anyway, I'm just taking this half-round file and I'm going around all the perimeters of both F-holes and bringing it out to the pencil mark and making sure that the contours are smooth and flowing. It's a time-consuming process. In case anyone's concerned about the rough look of these patches, that is pretty much identical to the way it looks on the inside of the lower. I have pictures, in fact, that I could post, and maybe I will. After I get the outside to shape, then I'll go around the inside and bevel it in slightly. Here I'm just hogging out some of the volume of wood. This is a very, very hard curly maple, and so I'm cutting across the grain with the curl, but across the grain, and it doesn't tear out nearly as bad that way. This gouge chisel is very, very sharp, and there's a lot of noise. It sounds like I'm beating the tar out of it, but actually there's very little stress on this. The microphone is very sensitive. It's sitting on a Formica table, so it sounds much worse than it is. Well, I've switched back over to my little finger plane, and I spent about, I don't know, 45 minutes carving this, I imagine. And you can start to see there's a little bowl there now. It's not a very big bowl yet, because it takes a lot to carve out of these, out of this maple. It's really hard wood. And I've got the larger one to hog out the wood. Like I said, right when you start off, you don't really have to be too particular, except just not to hit the edges. I've got the top carved to the lower specs as close as I can get it, within literally just thousandths of inches all over. And I've got it really smooth. I still got to do a little bit of more tweaking on the smoothness yet. It's pretty smooth. It's, you know, by feeling it all the way around, you can feel a nice smooth channel there where the sweet spot is. And, you know, you don't feel your fingers coming apart or anything or feel any bumps. So it's pretty good. It's just about as good as anybody could do it. Okay, I'm real satisfied with the thickness and the smoothness of the top, of the back. And I have traced my design, my rose, onto the back. And I have already taken an X-Acto knife and I've already traced every line below the rose itself. I haven't actually traced the rose up here, but I've traced all of this design down here. Now I'm going to sharpen up my little tiny chisels, and I am going to very carefully go in here and cut away everything and leave the rose standing up. So I'm just going to take a lot of time and do that. I'm not going to film it. I'll show you some progress along the way. Well, that's probably going to be just about it for today. I have got the, I don't know if you can see it, it actually stands up slightly proud of the surface because I carve everything away from the rose. I thought you might like to see a little bit of the process I go through in order to clean up this carving to make it as smooth as I possibly can. This little deal here is incredibly high powered. I forget what it's for. It's not typesetting, but it's for like inspecting printed material and to make sure that the printer is doing its thing, whatever. Anyway, it's incredibly high powered. So I get this down here and I literally scrape with this little tiny scraper to make everything smooth in between all the carvings. And when you get your head down here right on it like this, believe it or not, it looks like you're scraping mashed potatoes. That's how high powered this is with this white wood. When you start scraping it, you know, it's very, very, very high powered and very just the least little tiny scrape will you know, do something to the wood, and it's just amazing. And it just looks like you're moving mashed potatoes. Is what it looks like. Thought you might get a kick out of that. Well, I've got the rose finished, and it's, you know, I'll still tweak it a little while, and, you know, especially around it, trying to level it out and things like that, but it's pretty much done. Hey, this is probably a little bit of a primitive setup compared to what a lot of people do. I'm sure they have better electric bending irons and all that, but basically I have a pipe in this vise, and I have a propane torch set as low as I can get it, just burning, you know, it's burning inside of the pipe here to heat the pipe up real hot. I've already cut out all my blocks for the inside of the mandolin, for the inside of the sides. Got all the blocks cut out, as you can see, and I've got my sides already made to the right thickness. And what I do is I dip them in water. You know, you don't have to get it absolutely soaked all the way through, but you know, a little pretty wet helps. And I've got this pan over here that I'm soaking it in. I'm just barely inside the camera view there. And then you can probably hear that the pipe is hot enough that it instantly goes to steam, which is just about like you want it. Then the secret for me is taking this piece of metal, laying it over the wood like this, and using the wood then to pull down, and that also helps hold the moisture in between the wood, and that helps steam it. And on the inside it'll burn a little bit like that if you hold it too long. The idea is not to hold it too long, but I held that one a little long there just as a demo. But you just kind of do it like that, and of course that black won't show anyway, it'll be glued to that inside block, but it's still a little bit hot actually. but you can see how it bends there. And basically that's how you do. You proceed all the way around there like that, and then you have this bracket here that expands to hold the sides out in place inside the mold. And I'll bring you back when I get her fairly close. Well, you can see I have the sides all bent and glued to their blocks on the inside, and I put some little wedges in places to tighten up the blocks. And anyway, it's worked out really nice. It's going to be a real nice set of sides, lot of curl and figure in them, so they're going to be real pretty. In the vise here, I've got my neck blank glued up. I always laminate my necks. It's just a thing I've done since the very first mandolin. I laminate them with, you know, the curly maple, and then there's walnut, and then curly maple, and then walnut and curly maple. So it's a 5-piece neck going down the main part of the neck. Here you can see I've roughed out the neck, very rough at this point, and the parts that I cut out of the waist area of the neck, I then resaw it and glue them on as the extra flaps, the extra wings on the side, so that the peg head will be large enough later. And that's fairly traditional or fairly standard way to do it. Just thought I'd give you an update on the peg head. You can see I've got it roughed out, and you can see the rough shape of the lower peg head that I'll be cutting out later on. I've got the laminated neck glued up, and it's curly maple on both sides with a strip of maple down the middle and walnut on the 2 middle pieces there. And makes it really stiff, a really strong neck. I typically don't put truss rods in them when I do this. I've been building them this way for over 30 years and I've never had a single problem. So to me, I think this is the perfect way to do it. That gets rid of all that grain twisting and the neck twisting, because if all the grain is the same, the neck can twist or it can bow or it can do all kinds of things. But when you put all the different grains of wood in here, it can't do anything but just sit there straight. So it's the way I like to do it. Alright, here's a final update just before we start putting things together. The top, I just, I've been doing some more tweaking around the edges to get them even and things like that, and removing little wood off the braces and different things. Anyway, the top ended up being 126 grams as you see it right here, with everything, with the fabric in here and the holes and everything. 126 grams, 4.5 ounces, just in case you're keeping score. The back, a little heavier because obviously it's a much denser wood, maple. It's 186 grams, 6.6 ounces. And the sides, I didn't weigh those. I never felt like that was important too much. But anyway, the sides have got real fine tooth kerfing on them. I like to cut my kerf real fine tooth. There's a little bit of glue squeeze out in here, and I'm going to clean all that out before I glue the sides to it. I like to have a real nice clean set of sides. Just wanted to show you where we're at on the mandolin, and doing pretty good. I've got the neck on it. It's all joined, nice and straight. I got the right angle to the top here. I have a jig that makes that happen when I glue it on. The back is open and clean. I've signed it inside as the day I close it up, which is today, July 14th, 2015. And we're going to be closing it up here in just a few minutes with that. From this point on is where all the time comes in. This is actually hard to do this, to get it to this point, don't get me wrong. It's not simple, but this is where the time begins.